Hi everyone, and welcome to my first video. My name is Alessia Dixon, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm the best-selling author of my series, The Crystal Chronicles. And today I'm going to show you how to self-publish in 6 easy steps. So a lot of people don't know that self-publishing is pretty easy, and almost anyone can do it as long as you have the passion for your project and you're just willing to research and invest your time. So if that interests you, then please keep watching. Okay, so step 1 is to finish the book. And to finish your book, you obviously have to write. So what I would recommend is to establish a writing routine. And this doesn't have to be too complicated, it just means that you set aside time to write. So maybe you write better in the mornings. I personally write better in the afternoon. And finding a separate workspace that's free of distractions and turning off your phone and any notifications on your computer and stuff like that. Another big part of the writing routine is finding a writing software that works for you. So personally, I just use Microsoft Word because I'm too lazy to look into anything else, but I know a lot of other writers like Google Docs because they can separate their chapters into different pieces. And another popular writing software is called Scrivener. And Scrivener is super cool. It has these specific functions. So for example, it has this target word count. So if you want your book to be 100,000 words, Scrivener actually breaks that down for you and will tell you, okay, you need to write around 2,000 words each day to meet your goal. Scrivener also has this thing called the storyboard function, which I hear is pretty cool. And it just allows you to storyboard virtually. So let's just say you're writing a scene and you want to make a note about something. You can write a virtual sticky note and paste it to your screen so it's all in one place. But at the end of the day, the most important part of your writing routine is just finding a way to be consistent and a way to keep writing so you eventually finish your goal. Okay, so step 2 is editing. And people either love or hate editing. I personally love editing because I find it so entertaining to just read back my own writing and I just laugh at my own jokes and it's pretty lame. But I know a lot of people don't like editing. But unfortunately, editing is probably the most important part of the self-publishing process. Editing is what separates a good book from a bad book, and self-published books have so much bad stigma out there because they are usually not edited professionally. But lucky for you, there's so many resources out there that you can use to make sure that your book has great editing. So the first service that I would recommend is Grammarly. And it's free. All you have to do is download it in your browser and you copy and paste your book or your writing into the software and it will find all of these grammatical mistakes and spelling errors that you overlooked. The other type of editing that I would recommend is actually a paid editing service. And I highly recommend this because it will make your book sound so much more professional. And there are 3 types of edits that I would recommend. The first one is a developmental edit. And a developmental edit is just an edit that looks at your whole book in general. So an editor will sit down and look for any plot holes, they'll look at the characters, and see if your book just makes sense from an overview perspective. The second type of edit that you definitely should invest in is called a copy edit. And a copy edit is basically a general overview of your book. They'll look at your characters, your sentence structure, your spelling, your grammar, pretty much everything that makes your book a book they will look at. And I would say if you're going to spend money on any of the editing services that I mentioned, definitely spend it on the copy edit because that will change your book the most, and the copy editor does look at everything generally. So it's really good to invest in that one. The third type of edit that you usually get is called a proofread edit. And a proofread edit is usually done at the very end of your process, so right before your book gets published. And it's just done to catch any last-minute grammatical errors or spelling mistakes. So you're probably wondering, okay, I'm willing to invest some money into editing my book, but how do I find these editors? And it's actually really easy to find editors nowadays. All you need is the internet. So one thing I would recommend is a website called the Editorial Freelance Association. And the Editorial Freelance Association is just a forum of certified editors. So all of the people on there are certified. And you basically just post a job listing. So let's just say you are looking for a copy editor. You type in what you're looking for, so a copy editor for a fantasy book, and then you set your price range. So if you only want to spend $100, you can spend whatever you want basically. And then interested editors will respond to your job listing, and then you can go ahead and pick the one that you want. Another really easy way to find editors is through a website called Fiverr. And Fiverr is just a website of freelance creators. So you can actually purchase like so many different types of services on Fiverr. You can buy art services, you can purchase editing services, you can get someone to write your essays for you, you can get someone to do your tarot cards, literally everything you can imagine. But obviously we're interested in editing, so all you have to do is go to Fiverr and make an account and then type in what you're looking for. So for example, a copy editor, and then all of these relevant editors will pop up, and then you can just go ahead and pick and choose which editor you want. And I like Fiverr because you can look at other people's reviews, so you can look at other people who hired the editor, and you can also look at previous works that they did, and they are also leveled, so they'll be ranked by level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I would definitely recommend hiring someone that's a level 2 or higher. That's probably the best bet. If you guys are interested, the editors that I worked with when I was writing The Lost Temple were recommended to me by an author. His name is Eric Walters, and they were super good. The editors, I was so happy with them, and I'll make sure to link them below. Okay, so step 3 is to format your book. So I was literally shook when I realized that a book doesn't just magically go from like your Microsoft Word document onto a page, and you actually have to format it before it goes into publishing. And this is probably the part of the process where I know the least about. So I would definitely recommend hiring someone to do this for you. This is the part of the process where you have to decide if you want to be an ebook author or a paperback author or both. Because when you format your book to go into publishing, you need different files for each. So you need a separate ebook file, a paperback file, and a hardcover file. And there are a few ways to get this done. You can actually do this on Scrivener. I know you can format into an ebook file. You also can hire people to do this for you on Fiverr. And another service that I've heard through the grapevine is called Vellum. And all of these services are paid, so depending on your budget, you can just go and pick the one that's right for you and get your file formatted. I don't think this should be very expensive, so if you're seeing a crazy price, definitely keep looking. Okay, so step 4 is to create a cover. Now, a lot of people love this step, but personally it fills me with fear because people judge a book by its cover, and you can have a really good book but a really bad cover and vice versa. So you really want to pay attention to this part of the process and create an amazing cover that's going to look good to your readers. So unless you're a wizard, you probably can't write a book and then go ahead and design the cover. If you are, that's amazing. But for the rest of us, we have to find an artist to work with. So I found my artist through Fiverr, of course. And like I said before, I just typed in what I wanted. So an artist to design a fantasy cover. And I looked around, I read all the reviews, and I looked at previous works that they did for other people, and I eventually picked one that I thought was really good. I'll link her account below, and she's super reasonably priced. The whole cover only cost me like $100, so it's pretty awesome. But one thing I do want to point out about creating a cover is that artists can't read your mind, and that was a problem that I found. I found that they weren't creating exactly what I wanted. So to fix that, I actually created a little Word document where I wrote down themes, characters, and common symbols that appeared in my book that could possibly go on the cover. And doing that was really helpful for the artist because it kind of just took all this crazy stuff in my brain and put it on paper, and she could go ahead and then design something. So the Lost Temple, for example, I knew I wanted a temple on there because I was going for the whole Indiana Jones theme, and I knew I wanted the character Zack to be on the cover because he's really important in the book. And thinking about all of that was really helpful for the artist, and she came out with such a good cover. It was more than I expected, and I highly recommend her. Step 5 is to publish your book. And when self-published authors say publish your book, what we really mean is finding a platform to publish on. And there are a few that are pretty popular. The first one is Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, or Amazon KDP. And this one is super inexpensive. The only thing you need to pay for is just the ISBN number, so it's pretty much your book's social security number. And then you just need to pay for uploading the book. And that is pretty much it. The only drawback to Amazon KDP is that it only allows your book to be sold on Amazon. So if you want your book to be sold in bookstores or on iBooks or on Kobo or other ebook retailers, it won't be available. And that's why I like Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark is another self-publishing service. It's also free. But the difference is that it allows your book to be available everywhere. So you can make it available in all bookstores and all ebook channels. So I would definitely recommend this one if you want your book to be available on different formats and in different companies. So the third option is actually going with a self-publishing company. And a self-publishing company is very similar to a traditional publishing company, and the only difference is you pay them to help you through each step of the publishing process. And I personally did this for both of my books, but you do not have to do this at all, and I would actually advise against it because it can be quite expensive. It personally worked for me because I had the resources and I liked having someone to guide me through every step of the way, but it is definitely not necessary, and you just need to evaluate what is right for you in your life and, of course, in your budget. Okay, so step 6 is to make a website to promote your book as well as yourself. So having an author website instantly makes you so much more credible to your readers and potentially to interested agents or publishers later down the line. So this is a pretty important step. And when I say to people, oh, you should make a website, they get really scared because they imagine that they have to do all of this crazy coding stuff. And that's just not true. You can make a website nowadays with no coding involved whatsoever. All you have to do is just make an account on a website design service. So I would recommend 3. The first one is Weebly, the second one is Wix, and then the third one is Squarespace. And the easiest one is definitely Weebly, and that is the one that I use. And you can literally make a web page in 10 minutes. All you have to do is drop and drag color and text and images onto a web page, and then that is it. So it is so easy, and if I can do it, you can do it. I have no artistic talent whatsoever, and I think my website looks pretty good. I designed it myself, so hopefully that encourages you. But there are a few things that I would recommend that you put on your author website. And the first one is obviously the bookstore, so link your book and where people can buy it so you can get that coin for all your hard work. And the second thing that I would recommend is a blog. So I know that everybody and their mother has a blog, but trust me, having a blog is really useful because it will increase your Google searches. And what that pretty much means is that people will find you in the weirdest ways. So for example, a few years ago, I reviewed just a fantasy book that I was reading. I just wrote a review on my blog. And people who were interested in reading that book, they would search that book in Google and then my review would pop up and then they would find out about me and my book just by reading my review about that other fantasy book. I hope that makes sense. You can pretty much find other people's websites just by talking about other things. I also talk about good writing playlists and writing advice, so every time someone searches that in Google, I do come up. So the third thing that I would recommend are just ways to be interactive with your readers. So for example, what I did on my own website is I created this BuzzFeed style quiz that is of course themed to my book, so it makes sense. And I swear to God, like 90% of the people who go onto my website just go on there to take this quiz because everybody loves quizzes. And that's a really cool thing that you can do. You can make it personalized to your book, or you can just make it about anything you want, and trust me, people will take it. Other things you can do, you can have like a comment section, like a Q&A section, or you can have a section for fan art, and just places to interact with your readers and start building a community. Of course, outside of your website, you should be active on all social media, and you should also be active on other people's websites. So make friends with other bloggers who can potentially read your book later, and just get involved in the writing community. You can enter contests and stuff like that to get credentials, and just put yourself out there. That is probably the biggest thing that I would recommend. But like I said before, at the end of the day, self-publishing is a personal process and it's all about what works for you, your budget, and your book. There isn't one, way to do this. You can do it so many ways. And I promise if you have the passion and you just are willing to put in the time, your book will turn out so good. And it's not hard at all, as I've shown you. If you have any other questions about self-publishing, please put them in the comments and I will respond. I could honestly make a video talking about each one of these steps, so definitely like this video if you want me to do that, and subscribe to my channel for more writing related content. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope to read your book soon. Bye!